Hello. So building from the first reverb Cubase session that I did, I'd just like to briefly explain or demonstrate some of the EQ possibilities you have in Cubase. And this is going to be the same in any DAW. And I'm going to just make sure my audio is working. Yes, it is. I'm going to swap out. First of all, let's get rid of some of these points here. So we only have dry. So what I've got here is an audio track that is just dry. And rather than send to a reverb, this time I'm going to send to an EQ. So for now, I will just actually remove. Now I'll go to this FX channel, which is here, check its inserts. Now, on most channels, on all channels, you have equalizers. And you can see that this one here, you can select the EQ band type. So this is a high shelf, so this only lets high frequencies through. Right now, this is a parametric equalizer. So this is allows you to create very specific peaks and troughs and alter the spectrum. Two of those, and then you have a low shelf filter. And this allows you to shelve up and down the bass frequencies. And you have a center frequency here. You have the amount of dip or the amount of accentuation. And you have what's called a Q, which is the degree of slope, and that looks as best shown when you're working with a parametric EQ. We can actually should be able to get this up. Perhaps it's better shown here in EQ. There we go. Number 2. So the more I increase the Q, the greater the slope, the greater the focus on the center frequency. In actual fact, the Q, otherwise termed quality, is the center frequency divided by what's called the bandwidth. And the bandwidth is a specific measurement between 2 points on the slope either side of the center frequency. Basically, all you need to remember is the greater the Q, the more focused the filter is on the center frequency. Now this is an okay EQ, but I'm going to bypass that completely. And I'm going to instead take my, I'm going to actually remove that track because it says reverb, although I'm sure I could edit it now and say EQ test. And on EQ test track, I'm going to insert, not RoomWorks, but I'm going to insert an EQ. Now there's some great EQs, Studio EQ and Frequency, and let's have a look at them. Studio EQ, you have 4 EQs. With Frequency, you have 8. And not only are these EQs really, they sound really nice, but they can be dynamic. So the level of EQ is proportional to the level of sound going in to the EQ. Let's try and test this out. So we can show the spectrum, we can listen to each EQ, and it will be good if I can show EQ. Show spectrum. I need to actually send, because I've got it on a pre-fade send. Let's get rid of the original. So I'm just thinking how you might eventually crossfade from the original to an EQ'd version. And let's make sure that on this channel the send is pre-fade. Great. I hope you're following that. It was a little bit complicated, a little bit confusing. So I'm just going to turn off all the EQs apart from number 5. Okay, so let's now change the Q. Okay, so we can hear it. Now let's check out the dynamics. So this is like a compressor. The filter will only take place once the dynamic level is past a certain threshold. So the green line here you can see is the filter activating. Let's just pop in bypass every now and again to see if it's making a big difference. I think if I actually augment that a little bit. So I think you can hear the dynamics working. You could also control the filter from a different sound, which is a really cool trick, because it saves you automating levels. You control the level of the filter from a dynamic sound, which is so natural, and it makes such a difference. And I will show that in another video. So here's the frequency plugin. With the filter being controlled by the level of the sound that's going into it.